Alright guys, welcome to a new series that I'm going to be doing on the channel. It's called the Rise and Fall series. So I'm just going to cover some of the clans who either start off established or are on the rise throughout the scenarios and then start to fall apart and either spiral or just, have a decisive loss, whatever it may be. I always like playing as forces that are kind of on the verge, or either on the verge of collapsing or their heyday is past them, and then trying to make a run with them. So I'm going to start covering, starting with the Miyoshi here. I'm going to start covering the best scenarios to play as them, their turning point, whether that be a scenario or a situation, and then I'm going to cover finally their fall when they're just barely hanging on, and how their position and power changes as the scenarios roll on. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing, leave me a like, and leave me a comment if you want to see if you have a clan that you want to be covered. So anyway, let's get started. Okay, so the Miyoshi have 3 really strong scenarios. Although the third one, there's an asterisk next to it, and I'll tell you why a little later. Let's just talk about the first 2. So the first 2 are 1546 and 1553, right? Now, depending on preference, I'm going to say they're both equally as strong. In the 1546, they only have, I say only, but it's actually a lot, 6 castles, 19 officers, whereas in the 1553 starting spot, they've doubled their castles. They've got the most of the Kinki province under their control. So you have way more, double the territory, and you have more officers and all that. But depending on the player, you could see as a drawback, since you're kind of committed to being spread alongside all of this. So versus starting here in 1546, where you're just concentrated on the island here, around the island with 19 officers. It really depends on the player. They're both equally viable. The main strength that they have in terms of the positioning is just that there's nobody to challenge these guys early on. Like I said, in both these scenarios, there's just the Mori haven't gotten going yet. The Chosokabe are still getting started. They 10 officers only. You're just the strongest power, okay, across both of them, and even more so in this one. So let's look at the officers, right? The thing about the Miyoshi is they have 5 officers that are really strong, and they're all, it starts with the daimyo, Nagayoshi. So Nagayoshi, his stats are excellent. His leadership is probably the best thing about him. 92 leadership is insanely strong. Again, for where you are positioned in the beginning, in the lifespan of this clan, it's very, very powerful. Not to mention, intelligence, political power. But since Nobunagas' ambition, just like Koei's other games, everything's kind of geared towards the military side, and everything else kind of takes a back seat to it. So 92 leadership's really good. 71, whatever, it's fine. The only knockback against them is that he has interfere, which is the worst tactic in the game, probably. It's my most hated tactic. Well, it's an awful tactic. That's another video. But just know that interfere is a really bad, very bad tactic. Again, everything else makes up for it. Viceroy's authority, I think, doubles the amount of prestige that you get per castle, which is pretty crazy, because I believe you're talking 100 points per castle now versus 50. So that's huge. Networking, plot, that's good stuff. But Viceroy's authority is really good because of your positioning. Again, you have to think, there's nobody around this clan really. You can kind of expand at will at this point in the game. So getting more prestige per castles, you can really capitalize on that if you want. The other guys, The other guys I'm talking about, it's just a handful, but Hisahide is another really strong officer that they have. The main thing about him that makes him kind of crazy, yes, his stats are great, his tactic. Hiragumo deals, it's an AoE, blows up soldiers, and lowers morale. I mean, not morale, stamina. And you know, if you don't have stamina in this game, you're dead in the water. So, strategically using that is crazy. You can use him in a battle, you know, beat up on a small unit or something, let his tactic charge up, and then bring him in towards a crucial part in the fight. Just detonate his Hiragumo tactic, plummet the enemy's stamina, essentially just taking the unit out of the fight. I mean, if the soldier damage doesn't do it, the stamina reduction is going to do it. Another thing too that he has is refined taste, which is really good because he's always going to seem to get his hands on treasures, and it's going to be like, for me the rate's been like 1 treasure every year, or maybe once every 2 years, and you actually have 2 officers in the Miyoshi force that have this, so they have refined taste. So you can kind of double up on that, and you know, treasures opens up so many options. Besides just the flat bonus increase, it can be used to increase officer loyalty, it can be used as a bargaining chip. There's a lot of uses for it, right? So, he's number 2. Then you have Jikui Miyoshi, who I think is one of the brothers of Nagayoshi, right? So this guy, again, his stats are excellent, well balanced, 81 leadership is really good. I mean, if you have to choose an efficiency in this game, defense, preventing damage that you take is far more important than damage that you deal, because getting knocked out of the fight, I mean, that's it, you're done. Getting a general that can hold a spot and wear out the enemy just because their defense is so high, they just don't take as much damage, means that everyone's going to get exhausted trying to attack you. You know, it's the safer stat. Although I like dealing damage, I like officers that have high valor, but really you want defense. So 81 leadership is really good. Again, awful tactic, interfere, trash tier tactic, but everything else, you know, kind of makes up for it. Stats are good. Tactics is really good because it doubles up. It works great on the map. I mean, it only works on the map, but it's really strong on the map. Pincers on the map are key, right? So another really good. Now we get to Kazumasa Sogo the Ogre. Okay, so this guy, I think he has the highest valor. Maybe Motochika might have. No, Motochika's 91. Kazumasa Sogo's got the highest valor anywhere, either on the island or in the whole of the Kinki region. All the way towards Owari, he has the highest valor. So his combination of leadership and valor make him probably among the top 5. Okay, and that's just his stats. His tactic coercion is excellent. I mean, I just talked to you about leadership, right? So being able to plummet the enemy's attack means that they're dead in the water. You can't deal any damage. So you just... And then it's a downhill spiral from there, because you're not dealing any damage, and now your stamina's plummeting, so your damage is getting even lower, as is your defense. His ability, his trait, I can't say for sure that it's very strong because I haven't used it. I haven't seen it in action. It sounds kind of mid right now. Stamina restoration speed during battle. If he still has to stop to restore his stamina, somebody let me know in the comments, but if he still has to stop just to restore his stamina, it's not that great. I'm assuming that's how it is. Now, if he actively restores stamina while he's moving, then it's amazing. So, I'm going to go ahead and guess that he's got to stand still. Otherwise, it would be an amazing ability if this guy could actively restore stamina. And I would say, why not? He's one of a kind, it's a unique ability, give it to him, right? I'm all for, you know, put more crazy stuff in the game. Why not? On the offensive is good. People's Champion. If you can get Sogo to the next rank, which I think is Senior, if you can get him to Senior Retainer so that you can appoint him as a Conservator and take advantage of People's Champion. People's Champion has worked great for me. Nagamasa has it in my Asai playthrough. It's very strong. It just gives you a flat increase to all unit abilities. Yes, your settlement speeds is decreased, but the Miyoshi have 6 or 7 officers. Somewhere between 5 to 7 officers in their force that all have the trait that increases utmost devotion, which increases the rate that you capture settlements anyway. So you can afford to take it. But you have to get him that 4,000, which is quite an investment, and as the video goes along, you might see that. You might not be able to do it, depending on which starting date, because Sogo is not very long for this world. So, unfortunately, it's probably a hard one to trigger to get to go. But he does have it. It's really strong if you can get it. The drawback is negligible. I mean, yeah, you might... Okay, you can't take counties as fast, but your units are going to be bulldozing through everything anyway, right? So these are kind of the main 4. And then you have 2 guys who are kind of role players here. Murashige Araki, who is pretty decent. The best thing about him, I would say, is that he has refined taste. He lets you double up. Between him and Hisahide, you've got 2 guys who are actively... the game's actively rolling a chance for you to find a treasure, to get a treasure spawn, which is pretty great. And his stats aren't terrible either. And you also have Nagayori Matsunaga, who is he's one of those utmost devotion guys who I was just talking about. And he has Confuse, the all-powerful Confuse Abuse, which is crucial. Confuse, I mean, I don't think I need to go on about Confuse right now. But these are your 5, right? And like I said, your real standout, I would say, is Kazumasa Sogo. There's nobody who can really challenge this guy in the immediate region around you at all. You'd have to go all the way towards Motonari Mori, or all the way over here towards start looking at Owari. But as far as this whole region, you've got the best commander. Maybe, like I said, Motochika I think is close behind him. You could make a case that he's better. He's got 89 leadership. He probably is better, but it's a tiny force. And like I said, the starting power of the Miyoshi is so strong because you can strike anywhere. It doesn't matter which scenario you go with. You can start here and have a foothold here if you want to. If you don't want to, this clan, play them a little bit earlier. And not just use the seas. Take over the island, head up here, head over here. I mean, it's really up to you how you want to play. Another advantage that they have besides the officer core is just the fact that because they have so many castles, they have the most muster power early on in all of the center Japan. You know, you can pretty much blitz anybody that you want. So you can just choose a direction from the beginning of the game. So let's say you want to get the Chosokabe on your team, you can just gather everybody up, send them over to you, send them over there, and conquer very, very quickly. And just add whoever you want, right? So they have a lot of big advantages. Oh, another thing too is the landmark. They have this landmark here that increases how much you get for ports. And since most of their castles are oceanside, they get plenty of opportunities to build ports. So they get to almost double dip on the increased resources from the ports. They get more gold, I believe, is what the landmark gives them. Now, alright guys, so now let's talk about the fall of the Miyoshi. So 1560, I had put it under Rise for starting dates, but I put a star hysteric next to it. I'm going to explain why that is. Because while you can start in 1560, and it's probably a fun start for them, you end up losing most of your best officers within the first couple of years. So like I had said earlier, in their strengths, they have some really strong officers. Sogo is the strongest, for example, valor-wise, in the immediate region, all over the place. Nagayoshi's great. Jikui and Hisahide are also really strong. If you start in 1560, the Miyoshi experience a series of deaths that rob them of all of their talent. And it happens within a couple of years. So I'm going to tell you the years. So Kazumasa Sogo falls off of his horse, freak accident, and he dies in 1561. Okay, so Sogo's gone after a year. Jikui Miyoshi, the very next year, is gone. Okay, so you lose these two. Then 2 years later, Nagayoshi, who is, they say is suffering from losing his heir. His heir dies in a freak accident. They suspect foul play, I believe, is what they say. He was poisoned or something because he was a young kid. He was like 19 or 18. So Nagayoshi dies much earlier, and also before he dies, he kills his brother, his other brother, Furuyasu. He gets killed just so that so he can't contend. I think it's a little bit before, actually. Before Nagayoshi dies, he takes him out or something like that. Anyway, Nagayoshi passes away. This is all within 3 or 4 years of starting the scenario. Sogo's the first year, Jikui's the second year, and I think Nagayoshi is 2 years later. So you lose these 3 pillars of the force almost immediately. Right before, right as other clans are gaining momentum. If you look at Okehazama, Motonari's grown exponentially, the Otomo are pretty strong, and you know what's going to happen with Nobunaga Oda. Okay? Now, Hisahide does stick along for a while yet, but there is an event that will trigger in the future that will cause him to go independent. So you will lose him as well. So 1560, I would say, is the turning point for this clan. It's the beginning of the end for them. Could probably still be a fun run to do, because you know that you're literally on borrowed time. If you get lost in this game for even a little bit, you take your eye off the ball, you know that the years just fly by. So you have very little time to make the moves that you're gonna make to secure the kingdom, or should I say the clan, to secure the future of the clan, right? This clan lingers on. Now this is the turning point. Keep in mind, you're gonna lose all those guys. They linger on. Follow along with me. 1567, 1570, and 72. 1577, they're still there. And actually, the 1582, that light blue there, that's still a branch. That's a slightly different branch of the Miyoshi, but that's still Miyoshi remnant there. But we'll just count the ones that are still flying the clan's banners. So they linger on for 17 years after. After 1560, it is brutal. Okay, the difference, like I said, let me show you guys the difference between 1560 and 1567. Good lord. Okay, so your terrain is still the same. You know Nobunaga's coming because he's marching with the shogun to restore the shogun, right? I mean, it's exactly what I said. Look, it's just Hisahide left, Murashige, and then your ability just drops off the face of a cliff. So if you want to play as a force that's really got an, you have resources, but you have very little skill, that can be a lot of fun to play as a force like that. I have a lot of fun playing forces like that. So this could be a really fun starting date. You pretty much just have Hisahide and Murashige kind of leading the charge. As best of a charge as you can muster. Like I said, Nobunaga's on the way. Now the event that I was talking about, when Nobunaga gets here, if he's able to take these cities from you and establish the shogun, there is an event that will cause Hisahide to leave the force and form his own faction. And if you jump ahead in the scenarios, you'll see just that. Not only is the shogun restored, but he gives what's left of the Kinki province to Nobunaga to take. That's why you see that they lose this territory here. See, this is gone. So now, Hisahide is right here. He cuts a deal with Nobunaga, gets his own territory, grabs a handful of officers. Oh, I forgot about Munashoyi. He's actually pretty good too. You know, he's decent. For the Miyoshi force, he's excellent. But he leaves as well. So Hisahide packs up and leaves. And he secures, I believe he secures safety for a lot of the former Miyoshi officers, and they join the Oda as well. So now you have the cousins, I think, of Nagayoshi in charge. This is the guy I think who led the plot to kill the former shogun. So at this point, I mean, it's brutal. Brutal what this clan becomes. Like I said, this is their main weakness. The main weakness of the Miyoshi is just that they're only held up by like 4 officers. That's it. Once those 4 officers are gone, that's it. They just completely... There's nothing else. Yeah, you have all this territory, but you have no fighting capability. And it's the same. It just gets worse and worse. By 1577, the Chosokabe are well on their way to taking over the island. You just exist as a punching bag at this point for the Chosokabe. For Motochika's whims. That's what you exist for. Just to be their punching bag. No chance. No chance at all. Total collapse. Let me just look at the... Let's just show the officers here. Yeah, this is rough. It's incredible how quickly this clan goes. The biggest jump, like I said, is 1560 to 1567. Your territory remains the same. You know, it's actually bigger. You actually have more territory here. More officers and everything. But everyone's been gone. The passage of time has robbed them of all their talent save for Hisahide and Morishige. You know, and these guys are not great either. Hisahide is great because of his tactic. In my opinion, his tactic is crazy. But that's it. And look at this expanse that you have to defend. And you only have it almost feels like you have a skeleton crew. That's how the Miyoshi are suffering at this point. And you know that the Oda are on the way. So this is probably... This clan is just seems like a clan that would always be fun to play no matter what. You can play them earlier on and just enjoy being the biggest kid on the block for a while. Until somebody like the Mori come knocking, until the Oda get established. Whoever wins in the Owari and Minno provinces, or whoever wins over here, which is usually the Mori if you have events, of course. So, until somebody else comes along, you're the biggest kid on the block. And it's great. But you also have to take advantage because you're on borrowed time. Like I said, once you cross over into 1561, your best guys start dropping, and the clan's best days are rapidly behind them. It's crazy how fast it happens. I personally played as the Azai, and I got these territories here. I got this little cul-de-sac here, and I started to suffer from 100,000 troop attacks from the Miyoshi, and I was completely shocked when all of a sudden their best officers disappeared. Almost overnight. You know, I just, one after another. All of a sudden their quality dropped, and the events kept playing, and I was like, wow, they're just being robbed of all their best officers, and sure enough, I was just able to bulldoze through them. Because the troops, you know, troops only get you so far. Especially when you're just fighting AI, right? So, yeah, that about covers it. Miyoshi, really fun looking clan. I really hope to do a run with them eventually. Like, if I eventually do them, I'll probably do a 1560. Maybe even 1567. I don't know, they have a lot of viable starting dates that are just very interesting. Just because of their positioning, the fact that they have the castles, they have so much terrain compared to everyone else. So you just really have that muster power where you can, like I said, go wherever you want. At least for a little while. But sooner or later, you're going to have to, you know, you're going to have to put up or shut up. You know, sooner or later, there's going to be another kid on the block who's going to be bigger than you. So, you're on borrowed time. You have to enjoy it while you can. You know. But, yeah, that's going to be it for the Miyoshi. Like I said, I'll have more clans down the road. I just wanted to talk ad nauseum about these guys because I think they're a pretty cool clan. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.